Hello and welcome to this exclusive live training event. I'm so glad you could join me. I'm Sue Evans, and together we're going to explore a little more into clearing out some more of that disruptive stress from your life. We're going to take about 45 minutes to delve deeper. It's an opportunity for you to indulge in a little time for you. Maybe you've been feeling like you're running harder and harder just to stand still. I know when I used to get stressed out, it was hard work to keep everything going. I used to walk around feeling like someone was holding a pillow to my face, so I couldn't quite breathe properly. Knowing that I'd got calm and focused still inside me somewhere, but I used to get so frustrated that I couldn't find them when I wanted to. Maybe there's a specific upheaval that you've got going on, and it feels like a struggle to draw breath in between as new developments in it hit you. Wherever you've got that stress coming from, however you're experiencing its effects, I'm going to share with you more about the powerful ways to stop it without you getting worn out. I'd like you to get the best from our time together, so please, even if you're listening to it on the replay, do close down any other windows that you've got open in your browser. Switch off your phone, close down your email. I'm terrible for getting really distracted with those little pop-up notifications. It's a chance to make yourself comfortable and relax. Now, I guess most of you are going to be joining me after you've already experienced my free audio series. It's been great to get some feedback on differences that you're noticing. Tonight, we're going to explore more around how these skills work and how to get the best from them. And of course, we're going to add another great technique. If you've had unpleasant emotions hanging around and making you feel bad, this is a technique for making it much easier to let them go and start feeling just better. Even if it's been so long that you can't really remember what that feels like. It works like a reset or a system reboot. It's something I've taught to almost everyone I've worked with over the years. It's one of the most versatile techniques that I know. If you've had a bad experience, I don't know, maybe something that didn't go your way, where someone else hurt you, or maybe even something where you felt you'd let yourself down, that can often keep replaying through your mind over and over. It might even be that you've got something replaying through your mind that hasn't actually happened, something that you're worried about, something you've got coming up. This technique's great for switching off that repetition and the discomfort it was causing. It can help you to respond calmly to something that was upsetting or frustrating you, even making you angry, so that instead of reacting like a knee-jerk, you can choose your response. And of course, that response may still be giving the other person a piece of your mind, but it's doing it from that position of deliberate calm. Many people have found the technique really useful for switching off properly from work so that you get to fully enjoy your time away from it, or switching off from a challenging situation that you're facing. So instead of just feeling like you're marking time till you're back in the thick of it, you can use that time that you get away from the situation to relax more easily and recharge. When we get to that part, please make sure you're listening somewhere where it's safe to let your mind wander. If you've got some, it's even better to listen through headphones. The reset's one of the exercises in Fast Pathways, my e-course containing years of experience of shifting disruptive stress for good. And we'll explore a little more about that too. As we're live, we'll take some time partway through and some at the end for questions. On the right-hand side of your screen, there's a box where you can type them in, and we'll review those at a few points as we go. Now, you'll have to excuse me when we get to that point, because I'm hoping that both of my screens will work. I've got one with the presentation and one with the questions. So if there are questions as we go, do type them in and I'll stop when they come up. So I thought it might be an idea to introduce myself properly. What started my interest in thinking skills? Because I'm an engineer. It was something I decided on when I was 13, after I ditched the previous plans to study English. I've got to say it wasn't a popular decision with my gran, who would definitely have preferred something more glamorous. But my dad thought it was great that I was following in his footsteps. So I guess you can't please everyone. I spent 18 years in manufacturing, making processes run better. I've started up new factories, led multi-million-pound change projects, always with a strong focus on getting results quickly results that could be sustained. Every day was different. It could get pretty chaotic, but I loved it. Then a few years ago, I went on a training course. It was meant to be about communication skills, but it turned out to be a lot more. It was about thinking differently too, because although I'd never thought of it that way, thinking is how we communicate with ourselves. This course was filled with amazing discoveries that even without anything different on the outside, you can change the way you're feeling without much effort, more importantly, without a struggle. And even better, you don't need to go into history or even know the origins of problems. You can get beyond whatever it was that was holding you back, making you feel bad. Now, I've got to say, that appeals to an engineer. I got so excited by it that I started to use what I'd learned right away. Simple things at first. One of the first for me was not being bothered anymore by the guy who was trying to bully me. It was actually quite funny to see him trying harder and harder and getting nowhere. On the rare occasions when my daughter had a tantrum, and I've got to say, I'm glad there weren't many because she did them with style. It meant I could stay completely calm instead of getting sucked in and getting cross with her and making it worse. She's 9 now, so gladly the tantrum chapter's long past. And she's a big fan of these skills too. She's very proud to be my guinea pig for trying out new techniques. I got rid of a friend's needle phobia and helped another one who was terrified speaking in front of an audience to get completely comfortable with it, each in less than an hour. And the more it worked, the more I was determined to learn. Before then, all my personal development had been related to my work, but now I started to read much more widely. I spent countless hours over the next few years training and practicing. I've taken my training very seriously, dedicating weeks on end and learning straight from the guys who created the techniques I now work with. I've traveled as far as Dubai and Florida to learn from the best in the world. After a year, I left my job to make a career sharing these techniques. Some of my friends found that really amusing. Me, of all people, working as a coach and a therapist. They tell you I'm not most people's expectation of a life coach. In fact, I didn't even know what a life coach was when I started training. One of my favorite client testimonials is not a fluffy coach. I think she was pleasantly surprised too, and we're still working together years later. Sums me up pretty well. It's brought so many opportunities, like working with Paul McKenna, becoming one of the first in the UK to qualify in a revolutionary technique for making change right inside the neurochemistry, quickly and powerfully. These are simple skills, and yet they've completely changed the course of my life. Maybe they can change yours too. That's why I'm so passionate about sharing them. To explain a little bit more about how it works, here is my very simple take on how we think. When you're stressed out, there can be a real struggle going on. That's because there's 2 parts to your thinking, in my simplistic way. There's your conscious awareness. That's what you notice, where you plan, where you make decisions. It's the part that analyzes and assesses and knows how it wants things done. But that's actually only a fraction of all the thinking that you do. All the rest of it goes on outside your awareness, kind of just does its own thing, in what I call auto routines. The stuff that runs without you thinking about it. Some of them are routines that you've set up deliberately by practice. And any of you who drive a car will remember how difficult it was before you'd practiced enough to make the patterns automatic, when you had to deliberately think of every single move. But as well as these useful patterns that you've set deliberately, your brain's probably running quite a few that are a lot less helpful. The ones that you've picked up by accident. Disruptive stress is definitely amongst them. Nobody would deliberately choose to feel drained or overwhelmed or keep worrying about all sorts of things you can't influence. Now, most methods for getting rid of that stress approach it from the deliberate awareness by trying to reassure yourself or telling yourself to do things differently, to think differently. But your awareness and your auto thinking work very differently to each other. So when you try to think the way that you've decided instead, it actually makes the problem worse. It ramps up that inner struggle instead of resolving it. I suppose, at least battling through it that way, if things did get better, you'd really feel like you'd earned it. But there is a much easier way. You can bypass that struggle, making the changes that you want right inside the auto, in the way that those parts of your thinking actually work. And that's how these skills that I've spent so long exploring and developing work. It's a bit like changing the code of your thinking, like a computer program, so that it outputs what you want. And like a program, once the new version's written, that's what runs, just as automatically as cleaning your teeth or putting on your clothes, without you deliberately thinking about it. It doesn't need effort or willpower or lots of practice. Now, I know you're not a computer, but your mind is going to keep on running patterns. It's so much nicer for them to be the ones that you've chosen, rather than the old ones which used to make you feel bad. Once a new auto pattern's set, you don't have to give it a second thought. Sometimes it takes a matter of minutes. And with each technique in the e-course, I'll share with you the step-by-step guidance to getting the results that you deeply desire. Now, your brain is vastly complex, but you don't have to understand it to get the best from it. Like mobile phones and microwaves, you can use them to make life easier without knowing exactly how they work. Most of us don't really know how our immune system works, but we still trust it to do a good job of looking after you. It's just the same with your brain, and topping it up with new skills is equipping it in the best way that you can to do things the way that you want them. So that's how I understand our thinking. Let's talk about what stress is trying to tell you. It's usually used as a negative word, but actually it can be very useful. Stress is your mind's way of getting you to pay attention when there's something unpleasant that it's best to avoid. The changes that stress creates are your body's way of making you act. In its most primal form, it heightened the senses when there might be predators around. Kicking off the fight or flight response, it kept us safe. Nowadays, thankfully, it's not that often that we confront a hungry bear, but your body still responds in the same way. For you, it could be bills to pay or deadlines to meet. Your mind keeps nagging away about the consequences of not getting them done. It could be stress from difficult people that you've got to deal with. People who want to put you down or make you feel bad, undermine you. Your mind keeps playing through horrible things they've said or might say the next time you see them. So that suffering carries on even when they're not there. You might just have too much to get done. You've got to constantly review and reprioritize. Your mind keeps playing through the dire results of anything you might have missed, taking up so much of the thinking space that you could be using to get the things done. If these are things within your control, this kind of stress can be manageable, even motivating, but most of the time they aren't. Now, with fight or flight, our original type of stress, when the immediate danger's over, your body resets all its chemistry back to its normal levels. But with these other type of stresses, that doesn't happen. So all those chemicals just keep on circulating around in your system. Sometimes you might not even notice that it's disrupting your life. Worse still, having your system awash with that chemistry keeps you on a high alert, so that you're more sensitive to anything else that could push up the stress. That might mean that you worry more, playing through whatever else could go wrong, just in case, instead of taking it in your stride. Or maybe disagreements start more easily. I used to start avoiding anything that wasn't essential, making excuses not to go out, and losing out on my chances to unwind. Each effect causing even more stress and fueling that vicious cycle. Typical warnings that stress is building up could be things keep replaying through your mind, either those that have already happened or those that you need to do. It quite often starts to disturb sleep, so that maybe you find it harder to drift off or to stay asleep. And all those stress chemicals can leave you physically drained, feeling like it's taking all your energy just to keep going. It makes it more difficult to deal with the unexpected, so that little things that normally wouldn't bother you can become a big deal. Or you might start feeling like you can't unwind without a drink or comfort food. It's no wonder that stress can so easily snowball. Stress is a big problem, and it's getting bigger, but it's okay. There are easy ways to stop it. A massive 43% of adults suffer adverse health effects from stress. And there was a recent Mental Health Foundation survey that said that people were 3 times more likely to drink alcohol to deal with it instead of going to the doctor. And yet stress is still behind 1 in 5 visits to the GP. Of course, there's retail therapy, comfort eating, popular escapes. Both can get expensive and, of course, don't work. And there's a scarily big list of medical conditions that can be caused or worsened by stress. For the entrepreneurs and business owners who's joined us this evening, it's even more important for us to look after ourselves. When you are your business, if you get ill, there's no money coming in. Even just being off colour can have a big impact on keeping things going and winning new business. But as you're already starting to discover, it's easier than you might think to stop that stress in its tracks. So, what is Fast Pathways? It's a unique e-course. It's got proven step-by-step method with everything you need for switching off those stress patterns deep inside your thinking, helping you to change the way that you're feeling from the inside. When your background stress is high and something else happens to push it up, it peaks straight to seriously uncomfortable. And even worse, puts you on that high alert, looking out for other things that could cause even more stress. So your energy is quickly getting sapped by trying to manage the stress instead of getting rid of it. Fast Pathways is designed to reduce both the background stress and the intensity of any peaks, so that when they do happen, they still stay well out of the discomfort zone. You stay more able to adjust and deal with whatever happens. And as the skills develop, they'll apply themselves without you deliberately having to. It breaks that vicious cycle, switching off the high alert and giving you more time to relax and recover. There's a guidebook and a collection of audio and video guided exercises, each one sharing a powerful skill. Changing this way means that it's much quicker than most approaches, and the changes stick without you having to keep on practicing. In section 1, you lay the foundations and set your direction. See, stress is an away from mechanism, designed to make you take action to get away from something unpleasant. But what's your towards? What do you really want? Even if you haven't got a clue how to get there, this will help you get started. Moving smoothly, aligning all the parts of your thinking instead of them all pulling different ways. Section 2 is where you really start to change your thinking, replacing unpleasant feelings with the ones you want. In section 3, you'll learn how to bounce back more easily when something's upset you, how to adjust your body's settings back to comfortable, and how to stay centered and resourceful so you're much better able to handle whatever's going on without feeling battle weary. Section 4 explores a breakthrough technique to change your emotional responses deep within your neurochemistry. It's amazingly effective, and there's still only around 30 of us in the UK qualified to use it. I've used it to help people switch off responses as diverse as food cravings, pining for an ex, and panicking about public speaking, not all in the same person. In section 5, there's further skills for stopping the stress from coming back, including how to shield yourself from unpleasant people, so you can become immune to people trying to undermine or upset you, and different ways to build up your resources so that you can deliberately choose how you want to feel and respond to challenges you might have to face. And section 6 is all about time, how to slow it down and make the most of it, and to get the benefit of hindsight in your future experiences right now. I designed it to fit in easily to day-to-day life, so most of the exercises are less than 15 minutes, and the audio or video guidance walks you step by step through what to do. Quite a few people start to notice differences straight away. There's none of the time commitment and constraints of working with someone face-to-face to learn, and you'll have the exercises to refer back to whenever you like, giving you complete flexibility. Imagine settling down somewhere comfortable for those few minutes, a couple of times a week, putting on your headphones and closing your eyes to let that stress start to melt away. And it's not just while you're listening to the exercises. Once the stress starts to dissolve, you're clearing it from your system in between as well. Instead of dreading what each day might bring, how much better will it feel to start to look forward to what it might offer instead? To free up the time and energy that you used to spend managing for the things that you really enjoy. And that's all very well. What are the kind of results that people get? There are hundreds of stories that I could share, as diverse as the people I've worked with, about the massive differences these skills make. A few of the ones I hear about more often are sleeping much better. Often, even if I've only worked with someone for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, they'll often say the next day, "Oh, I had the best night's sleep. I'd forgotten what it was like." Many people find that they stop worrying about things, or that they're much more able to diffuse negative emotions quickly, so that they don't let unpleasant people create upset. Or happily being able to say no to people instead of saying yes to everything and getting overloaded. Being able to approach with comfort and very often even enjoying things that used to be terrifying, like public speaking or a test or exam or going to the dentist. And getting back the passion for life. Most of these results were achieved in just a few hours. The skills are incredibly versatile. And I'd like to share a couple of short examples as we go this evening. Helen is the manager of a busy city centre hotel. She's always juggled lots of priorities and worked pretty long hours. She was used to getting called back in or getting phoned at home. But when she went back to work from her maternity leave, this extra time wasn't there. At work, she spent the whole day worrying whether her son was okay. Then she'd spend her evenings worrying about the hotel. So she felt like she was only part doing everything, and it was getting worse. With Fast Pathways, it helped her to get back her balance. Within a couple of hours immersing in the exercises, she could comfortably separate work and home, so that whatever she was doing, she could give it her full attention. Years later, she's still using the techniques to retain that work and home balance and really enjoying both. So, if it's that simple, why is stress still such a big problem? Many of the people I've worked with have already tried a number of other routes. Some medication, CBT, hypnotherapy, counselling. Sometimes it's worked for a while, sometimes not at all. Going left field with something they hadn't even heard of before could have been a last resort. There's so many routes to choose from, and perhaps people just stall, overwhelmed by all the options, fearing that new skills wouldn't work or that stress would get worse before it starts to get better. Another thing that can keep people stuck is one very little word: why. I've got a mixed relationship with why. As an engineer, trying to get to the bottom of a problem in a business system, why is one of the most valuable questions I can ask. It helps make sure we get to the root of a problem and put in a fix that stops it from coming back. But for personal change, it's the exact opposite. It doesn't matter why on some days it feels like the world's against you, even when nothing's changed on the outside since the day before, or why you're not dealing with things the way you feel like you should. I see people tying themselves in knots trying to understand why, thinking it's a vital foundation to moving forwards. It's not. It's not even helpful. Stress also can still be a bit of a taboo subject, so we heroically soldier on without even realising how much the damage can be building. I used to be amazingly good at just managing. I'd get home from work frazzled, only to start over again with the stuff I'd got to do at home. As long as none of the plates I was spinning actually fell off its stick, it was okay. Never mind the effort that had to go into keeping them there. It's what I'd done for years. And I suppose it sort of worked. I got by. If I'd known what I eventually discovered, life would have changed a whole lot quicker. I'd have been able to give myself lots more space for me and still get everything done. So now I've given you a quick tour through the Fast Pathways program and the results it can get. With the guidebook and exercises, the program also includes membership of our Facebook group, a virtual community for people learning these skills to get together, share results and queries. And I'll be dipping in and out with there to help you get the very best from the experience. And all of that for a single payment of £232. That's it. Full access forever to all of the materials whenever you want them, with no ongoing membership fees. About the same price as 10 decent bottles of wine, and a lot better for you. As well as the core materials, I'll also share regular tips and insights, different ways to use the exercises, and a few bonus techniques. So as you take your stressing less to the next level, I'll be right there guiding you all the way through. And I mentioned there's something extra special for those of you who've joined the webinar. The first 5 people to purchase will also get 2 30-minute Skype sessions, one-to-one with me, included within your program. That alone's worth £95. You can have me all to yourself and explore whatever you'd like to get the absolute best from your new skills. I'm not making the offer by email or on Facebook. It's just for you as a thank you for joining me on the webinar. But it is genuinely available only to the first 5 people. So if you want to take advantage of that, go along to www.fast-pathways.com. Not right now, of course, or open another browser window. Click on the shop page and that'll take you where you need to go. So there's a link in the menu across the site menu to take you to the shop. And before we explore that great reset technique, I'm going to just quickly check in on any questions so far. No questions so far. That's good. Well, I'm hoping that's good. I said I was going to share a couple of stories about people that these skills have made a difference for, and another one was Karen. When her business took a downturn, she was really upset having to make 2 of her staff redundant. I mean, that was stressful enough in itself. But then one of them went to tribunal and it got a whole lot worse. Karen knew she'd followed all the correct process, but this woman just kept coming back with more and more accusations. It got uglier at every turn. With it playing on her mind all the time, Karen wasn't sleeping and she was constantly tired. Fast Pathways helped to develop her own way of dealing with those unpleasant thoughts. She imagined pulling every piece of that thinking from her body, screwing it all up into a big ball and booting it into the ocean, leaving her free to enjoy the ocean view. It took seconds. Each time there was a new development in the case, if the discomfort started to build, she'd do it again. Her sleep improved, and more importantly, she was able to plan each step calmly and thoroughly, instead of just wanting to run and hide until it all went away. Long after that situation was resolved, she's continued to use that same technique for clearing out distress and discomfort, and it still works just as well. So now, let's immerse in this lovely mind reset exercise. It's one of the first skills that I learned for switching off unpleasant emotion. It's based on a technique that was developed by my coach, Steve Crabb, who I've been lucky to study with for a number of years. If you've ever used meditation, you'll already be familiar with the benefits of slowing down your breathing. It's got some good sound chemistry behind it. If you're experiencing heightened emotion, whether that's stress, anxiety, or even excitement, your body produces extra adrenaline. It's that get ready hormone, part of the ancient fight or flight reaction, in case there's an immediate danger to be avoided. and it's neutralized by oxygen. So taking a few slow breaths can clear out of your system that extra adrenaline. Breathing's a very present activity. We never reminisce about breaths of the past or store up a few just in case for the future. It's all right now. One of the keys to effective meditation is to practice having a quiet mind. In the first of the audio exercises, you experienced how to get a quieter mind. Getting it to go completely quiet can be a bit of a challenge, and it's not actually necessary to getting most of the benefits. What this technique makes easier is relaxed thinking, allowing the thoughts to kind of show up and drift through, so you can observe without particularly engaging or giving them any of your energy. The kind of thing you might do as you walk down the street on a sunny day. As you walk along thinking, oh, look at that blue sky. That car's not parked very well. They've left the gate open. Squirrel. All just random thoughts that pass through. Each in its own right without connecting one from the next and the next. And that's a whole lot easier than trying to stop thinking altogether. So that's the reboot for your body chemistry. But what about your brain? Well, there's a really easy way to change your brain waves, to generate the kind of waves that you make in a light sleep. And that's to look straight ahead, keeping your head still, look up towards the ceiling so that only your eyes move. And as they move in the sockets, that makes the switch in the brain waves. Add to that the shift in chemistry, and there's your quick reset. So think of something that you've been experiencing that's mildly unpleasant. Perhaps something that's been worrying or frustrating you or getting you down. Nothing huge, just something you can use to experience the difference that the exercise makes. Think of that thing that you've chosen and notice how it makes you feel. And then begin by sitting, putting your feet flat against the floor, feeling it solid and firm. Take a deep breath in, then breathe out quite strongly. Like you're blowing out a candle. Then looking straight ahead, breathe in again. Keeping your head still, look up to the ceiling. Then close your eyes. You can relax them too and breathe fully, smoothly out. Open your eyes, breathe in again. Look up to the ceiling, close your eyes, and as you breathe out this time, give your jaw a wobble. Make sure there's no tension lurking in clenching teeth. Open your eyes and breathe in. Look up to the ceiling, and now as you close your eyes, breathe out and really let your shoulders drop. Let them soften and sag. Then keeping your eyes closed and breathing evenly and comfortably at whatever pace feels right for you. You might start to notice how it feels slightly different to let the air travel that little bit deeper into your lungs, especially with your shoulders relaxed and resting. Breathing all the way down into your chest. Imagine that you're surrounded by a warming energy. It might feel like the sunshine on your skin, relaxing all the muscles from the outside. You can feel it soothing and softening as the warmth caresses your skin and travels effortlessly into the muscles beneath. As you breathe in, imagine that energy mixing with the oxygen. Carried into your circulation, the energy can travel all the way around your body. So as the oxygen reaches every single cell, giving it just what it needs, that energy can travel too, flowing like warm honey, soothing and softening, relaxing away any tensions in the muscles and letting go any unhelpful thoughts which might have been hanging around in the background. Your body knows what's useful and what you no longer need, and you can breathe away that unpleasant emotion, letting it go as easily as the air you're done with. You don't need to know exactly how your mind and your body will adjust to let it go. Just like you probably don't know how that air gets from the cells back into your lungs and out again. That constant cycle of supply and demand working perfectly. As you allow your thoughts to drift and slow down, take these few minutes to really indulge in letting go, giving everything you no longer need to the breath leaving your body, noticing which part of you already feels the most comfortable, and allowing that comfortable to spread all the way around your body, through every muscle, every sinew. And if you're talking to yourself in your mind, you already know how to have that voice slow down and soften. Shh. Slowing it all the way down, so the gaps between the words get longer and longer as you relax. And though it's only been a couple of minutes, you may already feel more relaxed than you have in a while. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes, so that soon you can feel this comfortable in a single slow breath. And when you think now of that emotion that you had to start with, what's different? Because it doesn't take long to change. It can happen in seconds, big things and little ones. And the more skills you have, the more ways you can make those changes easily and effectively. No drama, no effort, just great results. And that's just one of the many techniques within Fast Pathways. Remember, the program includes a guidebook, the audio and video exercises, membership of the learning community, and that comprehensive series of tips, insights, and bonus exercises. And of course, for the first 5, those 2 one-to-one sessions where you get me all to yourself. You deserve freedom from stress, and I'd love to support you in finding it. So let's recap on how Fast Pathways is different to any other approach you might have come across. There is no need to go into the history or even fully understand your stress to change it. It bypasses that inner conflict of trying to force yourself to think differently. It's quick to apply. A lot of people start to notice those differences right away. And once you've set your new thinking patterns, they run automatically. It's a completely unique blend. You won't find what it offers anywhere else. And it's bite-sized to fit in easily, even when you're really busy. The exercises guide you step by step, and you can revisit them to top up whenever you like. Here's some of the most recent feedback I've had about the differences it can make. So let's check in on questions. I'm often asked, this is a familiar one, how does it compare to CBT? That's cognitive behavioral therapy. It's one of the change techniques that works at the awareness level. So they are both results focused, starting out with being clear on what you want, but the way that they go about getting there is different. CBT is very much in the awareness level. So it's about recognizing those mind patterns that are not helping, deliberately designing new ones from logic and evidence. It's very conscious driven. That's why, even though I am qualified in CBT, I don't use it very much. It can work, but it takes more effort and practice. It's quite self-analysis based, and that can actually fuel the inner conflict if the new patterns take time to settle. Fast Pathways works right inside those patterns themselves, inside the auto-thinking, so it takes away that labeling and analysis. A question on how much time I'd need to put into getting results. Well, that's up to you. Each of the exercises is round about 10 minutes. Some people like to go back and re-listen to them often. Some people just dip in and out when they can make a few minutes spare once in a blue moon. The extras that I'll send out by email take a couple of minutes to read, and that'll help make sure that you're getting the best from what you're learning. Now, it may be that other questions surface once you've had time to relax into what you've learned this evening. So you're always very welcome to email me. It's sue.evans@fast-pathways.com, or there's an inquiry form on the main website that you can send your questions through as well. So thank you so much for joining me this evening. I've really enjoyed sharing this technique with you. I hope you'll find it useful and relax into enjoying the rest of your evening. For now, farewell.